Roman Reigns' new Shield unmasked on WWE RAW, the return that shocked everyone. Roman Reigns just unveiled a new Shield faction so controversial and so strategically dangerous that the entire WWE locker room is in absolute panic mode, and the three wrestlers Roman chose to stand beside him as his new brothers are so unexpected and so potentially destructive that multiple veterans have already requested contract clauses protecting them from being forced to work with this group. What happened on Monday Night Raw wasn't just the reformation of an iconic faction, it was Roman Reigns declaring that he's rewriting WWE history by taking the Shield concept and weaponizing it in ways that the original trio never imagined possible. But here's what's going to absolutely infuriate you and ignite the biggest debate in wrestling history. Roman Reigns didn't choose wrestlers who remind anyone of Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, he specifically selected three performers who represent everything the original Shield stood against, and his reasoning for these choices is so coldly calculated and so disrespectful to the Shield's legacy that even die-hard Roman fans are questioning whether the tribal chief has finally crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. These aren't brothers united by shared struggle and mutual respect, these are mercenaries recruited for their specific skill sets and their willingness to follow Roman's vision without question or conscience. The most shocking part isn't just who Roman chose for his new Shield, it's why he chose them and what their selection reveals about Roman's current mindset and his plans for WWE's future. Each member was handpicked to fulfill a specific role in Roman's master plan, and when you understand what those roles are and how they fit together, you realize that this new Shield isn't designed to fight for justice or protect the weak like the original faction. This Shield is designed to systematically eliminate every threat to Roman's dominance through whatever means necessary, regardless of rules, ethics, or the destruction left in their wake. And the original Shield members' reactions to this unveiling are what's really tearing the WWE Universe apart. The disrespect Roman showed to the legacy he helped build by recruiting a new Shield without any input from Seth or consideration for what the Shield name actually means has created a rift so deep that there are legitimate questions about whether the original brothers can ever reconcile or if Roman's actions have permanently destroyed relationships that once defined WWE's landscape. The question that should terrify every WWE superstar is this: if Roman Reigns can take the most beloved faction in modern WWE history and corrupt it into a tool for his personal domination by recruiting mercenaries who share none of the original Shield's values, what's stopping him from corrupting and weaponizing every other piece of WWE history that fans hold sacred? Let me tell you exactly who Roman recruited for his new Shield, why these choices are so controversial, and what this faction's formation means for the immediate and long-term future of WWE. The unveiling happened during Monday Night Raw's main event segment in a way that was clearly designed for maximum shock value and emotional impact. Roman Reigns had been advertised to address the WWE Universe about his next chapter and his plans for reclaiming the dominance that defines his career. Fans were expecting a typical tribal chief promo about acknowledging him and understanding that he's still the head of the table. What they got instead was something nobody could have predicted. Roman stood in the center of the ring with Paul Heyman by his side, and his opening words immediately set an ominous tone. For years, people have asked me about the Shield. They want to know if we'll ever reunite. They want to relive the glory days when three brothers came through the crowd and dominated WWE. They want nostalgia and warm feelings about brotherhood and loyalty. Roman's expression darkened, but here's what nobody wants to admit: the original Shield is dead. Not because we went our separate ways, but because the concept that defined us became obsolete the moment I realized that brotherhood and loyalty are weaknesses that can be exploited. The original Shield believed in fighting for something bigger than ourselves. We believed in protecting each other and having each other's backs no matter what. And where did that belief get us? Betrayal. Dissolution. Years of fighting against each other instead of dominating together. The crowd was confused, unsure where Roman was going with this revisionist history of the Shield's legacy. Then Roman delivered the line that made everything clear and made everyone uncomfortable, so I decided to create a new Shield. Not brothers united by sentiment and nostalgia, but warriors united by a shared understanding that power matters more than principles, that winning matters more than how you win, and that loyalty isn't given, it's purchased through shared success and mutual benefit. Paul Heyman stepped forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the tribal chief has spent months identifying and recruiting the perfect specimens to stand beside him as the new Shield. These are not sentimentalists clinging to outdated concepts of honor and fairness. These are pragmatists who understand that WWE is a business, dominance is a strategy, and the only thing that matters is being on the winning side when the dust settles. Then Roman gave the signal, and three figures emerged from different entrance points, surrounding the ring in a coordinated display that immediately recalled the original Shield's tactical approach. But as these three wrestlers were revealed, the shock and controversy exploded through the arena and across social media. The first member of Roman's new Shield was someone who has a reputation as one of WWE's most ruthless and morally ambiguous performers. This is a wrestler who's built their career on doing whatever it takes to win, regardless of rules or ethics. They've been involved in multiple controversial moments where their methods cross lines that most wrestlers won't cross, and they've never shown remorse or hesitation about using those tactics. Roman's explanation for recruiting this person was chillingly honest: I chose him because when I need someone hurt, I don't want someone who's going to worry about whether they're going too far. I want someone who understands that in warfare, mercy is weakness and hesitation gets you eliminated. The original Shield had a conscience. This Shield has a mission. The second member was even more controversial, a wrestler who's been openly criticized for their backstage politics and their willingness to sabotage other performers to advance their own position. This is someone whom multiple wrestlers have gone on record saying they don't trust and don't want to work with because of their history of manipulative behavior and selective loyalty. Roman's justification for this choice was equally disturbing. I chose her because loyalty to abstract principles is worthless compared to loyalty to success. She understands that we're not friends sharing a locker room, we're business partners with aligned interests. As long as being part of this Shield serves her goals, she'll be the most loyal person in WWE. And that pragmatic loyalty is more valuable than sentimental loyalty that crumbles under pressure. But the third member of Roman's new Shield was the most shocking and the most controversial selection, and when this person's identity was revealed, the arena erupted in a mixture of boos, gasps, and confused reactions. This was a wrestler who has legitimate heat with Roman from past feuds, someone who said publicly that they'd never work with the tribal chief, someone whose inclusion in a faction called the Shield makes absolutely no sense based on their history and character. Roman's explanation for this seemingly contradictory choice revealed the true depth of his strategy. I chose him specifically because everyone knows we hate each other. Everyone knows he has every reason to want to see me fail. Which means when he stands beside me and helps me dominate WWE, it sends the clearest possible message: opposition to Roman Reigns is futile. Even my enemies recognize that their best path forward is aligning with me rather than fighting against me. This Shield isn't built on friendship, it's built on the understanding that I'm inevitable, and smart people get on board rather than getting run over. The three members of the new Shield entered the ring and stood with Roman in a formation that deliberately mirrored the iconic Shield pose, but with an energy that was completely different from the original faction. Where the original Shield projected brotherhood and unity, this new Shield projected cold calculation and barely contained aggression. These weren't brothers who would die for each other, these were professionals who'd kill for each other as long as the contract terms were favorable. Paul Heyman concluded the unveiling with a statement that crystallized what this new Shield represents: what you're witnessing is the evolution of dominance. The original Shield changed WWE through idealism and passion. This Shield will change WWE through strategy and ruthlessness. Roman Reigns has learned from his past and created something that can't be defeated because it's not held together by something as fragile as trust, it's held together by something as durable as shared self-interest. The immediate reaction from the WWE Universe was explosive and deeply divided. Social media erupted with debates about whether Roman had honored or desecrated the Shield legacy. Some fans argued this was brilliant character work that showed Roman's evolution into someone who understands power dynamics. Others were furious that he'd taken something beloved and corrupted it into a tool for his ego. But the most significant reactions came from the original Shield members themselves, and their responses revealed just how deeply Roman's actions had cut. Seth Rollins addressed the new Shield formation in a backstage interview that was clearly shot when he was genuinely emotional and angry. His voice shaking with a mixture of fury and hurt, Seth said, "Roman just took everything the Shield meant, everything we built together, everything we sacrificed for, and he turned it into a joke. We were brothers. We believed in something. We fought for each other. And he just announced to the world that all of that was weakness, that loyalty and brotherhood were mistakes, and that the real Shield is just mercenaries with matching gear." Seth's voice grew more intense. He doesn't get to do that. He doesn't get to take our legacy and corrupt it into whatever this is. The Shield meant something to millions of people. It meant something to me. And Roman just destroyed that meaning because he's so obsessed with power that he can't see the difference between dominance and hollowness. The interview ended with Seth staring directly into the camera. "Roman, you want a new Shield? Fine. But don't call it the Shield. Don't pretend it's anything like what we built. Because what you created tonight is everything we stood against, and you're not going to get away with disrespecting our legacy like this." Dean Ambrose's response, delivered through a social media video since he's not currently with WWE, was even more personal and cutting. Roman made his choice about what matters to him, and apparently what matters is power and control and surrounding himself with people who'll do whatever he says without questioning whether it's right. That's not the Shield. That's not brotherhood. That's Roman being so isolated and so disconnected from what actually matters that he thinks loyalty can be bought and relationships are just transactions. Dean's frustration was palpable. The Shield was special because we actually cared about each other. We fought for each other not because it served our individual interests but because we were brothers, and that's what brothers do. Roman taking that name and putting it on a group of mercenaries? That's not honoring the Shield. That's Roman admitting he never understood what made us special in the first place. The locker room reaction has been equally intense and divided. Many wrestlers are terrified of this new Shield because Roman has specifically assembled a group with no moral boundaries and no hesitation about doing whatever it takes to eliminate threats. The combination of ruthlessness, political savvy, and shared self-interest makes this faction incredibly dangerous in ways the original Shield never was. Other wrestlers are disgusted by what they see as Roman commodifying and corrupting something that meant a great deal to fans and to WWE history. There's a sense that certain things should be sacred and that Roman crossed a line by taking the Shield name and applying it to something that represents the opposite of what the original faction stood for. But perhaps most significantly, there's a faction of wrestlers who are watching Roman's new Shield with a mixture of respect and fear because they recognize the strategic brilliance of what he's done. By recruiting based on skill sets and self-interest rather than loyalty and friendship, Roman has created a faction that's actually more stable and more dangerous than the original Shield because it can't be broken up through emotional manipulation or personal conflicts. Everyone in the new Shield knows exactly what they're getting and why they're there, which eliminates the vulnerabilities that destroyed the original faction. The new Shield's first actions since their formation have been deliberately provocative and designed to establish their dominance immediately. Within days of the unveiling, they attacked multiple rising stars, disrupted several ongoing storylines, and made it clear that any wrestler not aligned with them is a potential target. The message is unmistakable: acknowledge the tribal chief and his new Shield, or become the next example of what happens to people who stand in their way. What makes this faction particularly dangerous is the diversity of tactics they can employ. The first member provides pure physical intimidation and ruthless aggression. The second member handles political maneuvering and backstage manipulation. The third member brings star power and credibility that makes the faction impossible to dismiss as just Roman's lackeys. Together, they cover every possible approach to dominance: physical, political, and psychological. WWE management is reportedly struggling with how to handle this new Shield because Roman has essentially created a superfaction that's positioned to dominate every aspect of WWE programming. Trying to book around them is nearly impossible because they can interfere in any storyline, target any wrestler, and justify it through their stated mission of ensuring Roman's dominance. Now here's the question that's going to tear the WWE Universe apart: did Roman Reigns honor the Shield legacy by evolving the concept for the modern era? Or did he disrespect everything the Shield meant by creating a faction that shares nothing with the original except the name? Your answer reveals your beliefs about whether wrestling should honor history and tradition or constantly evolve and redefine what things mean, and whether you think Roman's cynical approach to the Shield concept is brilliant strategy or offensive revisionism. Here's the even more controversial question: is this new Shield actually more effective and more sustainable than the original because it's built on self-interest rather than emotion? Or has Roman created something hollow that can never capture what made the original Shield special? Because there's a legitimate argument that Roman has learned from the original Shield's weaknesses and created a faction designed to avoid those pitfalls. But there's also a strong case that what made the Shield iconic was precisely those emotional connections and that sense of brotherhood, and without those elements, this new faction is just three people wearing similar outfits without the soul that made the original matter. Tell me in the comments, which member of Roman's new Shield shocked you the most? Who did you absolutely not expect to be part of this faction? And here's what I really want to know: if you were Seth Rollins, would you want to destroy this new Shield to protect the legacy of the original, or would you try to ignore it and let Roman have his hollow imitation while you move forward with your own career? Roman Reigns' new Shield unveiled on WWE RAW represents either brilliant evolution or offensive corruption depending on your perspective. The tribal chief took one of WWE's most beloved factions and reimagined it as a cold, calculating organization built on pragmatism rather than passion, on self-interest rather than brotherhood, on strategy rather than loyalty. The three members Roman recruited are perfect for his purposes: ruthless, politically savvy, and free from the sentimental attachments that ultimately destroyed the original Shield. They understand that this is business, that their alignment serves their individual goals, and that as long as those goals align with Roman's dominance, they'll be the most effective faction in WWE. But what's been lost in this evolution is everything that made the Shield culturally significant. The original faction mattered because it represented genuine brotherhood, because those three wrestlers actually cared about each other in ways that transcended storylines, and because fans could feel the authentic connection between them. Roman's new Shield offers efficiency and dominance, but it can never offer that sense of genuine human connection that made the original iconic. The question isn't whether this new Shield will be effective. With the talent Roman assembled, that's practically guaranteed. The question is whether effectiveness and dominance are enough to make something meaningful, or if wrestling needs that emotional authenticity to truly matter to fans. Roman Reigns believes power is more important than sentiment. The WWE Universe is about to find out whether they agree with him or if they'll reject this new Shield as a hollow imitation that disrespects the legacy it claims to honor. Either way, WWE will never be the same, and the Shield name will forever be divided between what it meant and what Roman has turned it into.